Hello?
Hello, Jimmy, is that you?
Anderson, how did you get my number?
I've just been typing in random phone numbers until yours came up. Turns out that the 538th time really was the charm.
Go figure.
Look, I need your help, okay? I may have submitted an application for a robot combat fighting event for me to cut my teeth on. Problem is, it's a little bit underground. It's the kind of place where you can grapple for longer than 30 seconds. Robots are mostly anti-pit cages. High stakes. They even thought that the fog of war was a good idea, for crying out loud.
No way.
Yes way!
Okay, well, what's your issue then?
Well, I submitted my application.
Oh really? Can I see your robot?
No, I kinda haven't built it yet.
Can I at least have a look at the design?
You sure? I mean, it's quite bad. It's the reason why I'm in trouble with the Robot Mafia to begin with.
Yeah, I'd like to have a look. It can't be that bad, surely.
Your funeral.
It's not that bad. I can see it's a relatively simple design. Nothing terrible. If anything, the worst thing about it is you've drawn it on a bit of bog roll.
It's a bloody napkin, man! Anyway, the Robot Mafia disagree. They're out to get me for this.
Because you drew it on bog roll?
Napkin!
Whatever. So there's a robot mafia. Who have you been dealing with? What sort of competition is this?
Not important. Look, that drawing took me all night. Okay? You've got some experience and some success. You can design in CAD. Can you please design a robot for me so the Robot Mafia don't feed me to their robot fishes?
You have seen Volta recently, right? Look, my robotics expertise is laughable. At the very least, it's passable. That's why the series is called Robotic Idiotic. It's my journey into self-guided learning and educating while still being entertaining.
Well, can you put some self-guided learning into some CAD and educate me on how to build a robot in the process? And be entertaining. They'll break my robot legs, Jimmy!
Okay, fine. How much time do I have?
Oh, take as long as you need, buddy. There's no rush, trust me. Anyway, thanks a lot. I got to scoot. Take care. Bye-bye.
Looks like I best get to work. To the studio! I'm here. Right, let's get into it. Now, Anderson has challenged me to design him a robot. He of course sent me the plans. Yes. But then I got him to send me some more accurate plans with some dimensions that I could work with. So it looks like we are designing a ant weight. With the intention that he can take it to events or do whatever he wants with it. I'm only doing the shell though. He will be doing the circuit. He will, well, hopefully he will build a circuit and get it up and running, but that will be on his channel. This is purely design and the prints. We'll fire up Fusion 360 and I will go through the plans, explain how I did it in CAD. So here we have the first design that I threw in. This was in accordance to Anderson's plans. When I initially drafted it in this, I thought that the wheels would have gone on the inside. It certainly looked that way from his initial plan. Yeah, I modelled the N20 gear motors to see how much space we actually had, and I actually realised internal wheels might not work as well as the design originally stated. This was with placeholder Lego wheels. And of course we have to add in the decals. There we go, Anderson with the kick-ass font. Oh, he also wanted the spike on it as well. There we go. That was the initial design. That was V1 of Anderson. Just to see if it could be modelled really. So the initial idea works. So we tried to run with that one. With the next one. This one was V2. This one was designed with the components in. I have modelled all of the components that I have in my robot kit. So These are the Pololu wheels. That's the shell. We've taken the spike out because we didn't think it was going to fit necessarily. And we take away the shell. There we go. So now that the shell's been taken away, you can see how I've tried to fit all the components in. Of course, that is entirely up for speculation. I just wanted to see if it would fit on the floor plan. That's how I designed the floor plan. So they had raised plinths to keep the N20s above the initial floor plan. So it ran a bit more flush. So there you go. That's the N20s on their motor plinths, so to speak. So yeah, that was building on the first initial idea. Again, to see if we could actually do it. Doesn't look too bad in that configuration. It might have worked, but I actually thought there wasn't a lot of space to work with, so that's why we went on to the next version. This was the next plan. It's what I'd like to call the wide boy because it is considerably wider than the original design. This was because I kind of liked the idea of having internal wheels. We also added in some writers on the back. That's what these are. Well, to hopefully put it back on its wheels. And then I realised that the sides are slab. It is a slab-sided design. This was kind of to keep more fitting to the original design while still having internal wheels. So to do that, I just extended the shell to fit into the cube and then redesigned the floor plan. Again, it's still got the same components in. So we've got the battery, the two ESCs sitting on top of the gear motors, the same wheels. But you can kind of see how the floor plan was shaping up to fit with the shell. But this idea I stuck with. I went with a solid plinth, so to speak, for the N20s rather than just individual ones. Just gave a bit more space to play with, I think. Got the other wheel anyway. That's how the wheels would have fit in the chassis like that. That's how much clearance you would have had in accordance to this design. On the inside you can see that we've got a notch here that would fit onto the chassis, the rear of the chassis, and then here is a bit of space. The idea was to screw in this way into here, but I chose not to run with that idea in the end. I mean, again, this idea could work. Maybe we could have changed the side so it wasn't as slab-sided. That's always a problem. If you be flipped, you'd end up stuck on your side. Which brings us nicely on to the next one. I built up the chassis again, and then we basically took the old shell from that previous version, removed the slot around the wheel, which ended up looking like this. As you can see, the wedge is still the same width, and it's still the same length, but we have exposed the wheels. And the idea was that it would, one, be easier to fit together, because with the instructions I decided that we can run a bit of polycarbonate or whatever plastic in this gap to screw it into the writer and into the base of the chassis, so you wouldn't need any screws on the underside. It would all be bolted on here and on the left hand side, which would mean making it much easier to take it apart. If you're fighting a robot, you need to be able to get to the internals to be able to fix it. And it gave us a load of space to fit in a switch and the LED power light. Now for the actual design, and you'll see this on the prints, we took the hole out because apparently the printers at 3D Print Direct don't go down to that small. So we took the hole out. If Anderson wants to put in the spiky spike of death, then he can drill the hole himself and put it in. There might be enough room, there might be enough. But getting everything in to fit was such an arduous task, because you got a specific amount of space, and because of the funny angles of the wedge, trying to get everything to fit in nicely was not easy. It was quite puzzling actually, but in the end I actually managed to fit all of the parts in. Let's take the shell away. If I was building an Anderson, that's how I would lay it out with the parts that I have in my toolbox. But the Bristol bot builders have a amp weight kit, which uses quite a lot of similar parts, but their ESCs are actually connected to their N20s. So we can actually take out the ESCs, which gives us a bit more space because they're connected to the motors. So there we go. That is the design we decided to run with. I'm actually quite proud of that. I'm actually quite glad that we managed to get all the parts in. The next step then was to send the STLs over to 3D Print Direct. And then in 6 weeks we will have our printed designs. Or now. 6 weeks, 6 seconds. Let's not leave the postman waiting, eh, shall we? Look what came in the post. It says 3D Print Direct, which is obviously 3D printed parts. Exciting. The 3D Print Direct are actually one of Nelly's sponsors. I've spoken to a guy called Alexi who's been to events with the Nelly team, and who's the first port of call I contacted about 3D printed stuff. Very easy to work with. He advised me on different techniques for printing and all that. And yeah, let's have a look. Loads of packing units. Have a look at this. So the first project, or the project that you're actually watching the video for, is this. Ah, look at that. Oh, it needs a bit shaving off. That is Anderson. Look, I'm so happy with that. Look at that. Honeycomb in there. That was Alexi's work that he recommended. That is swish that. That is exactly how the design looks. Yeah, hopefully it's compliant. Hopefully it weighs a decent amount. It feels quite light. But either way, he can put his electronics in how he wants, and oh, look at that. So yeah, there is the print for Anderson. And if you're interested in what's in this, then go watch the other video. If it's out yet, of course. There we go. That's very well done, that is incredible. But what I need to do is, in here I added in a little lip that would ideally slot in there, but because of the tolerances of the print, it didn't really come to fruition very well. I'm just going to shave off a bit of that square section on the left hand side. That should be an easy fix. Here we go then. That, no work needed doing to that, and that is done. All that remains now is to box it up with some flavourless what's-it, and to send it on to Anderson so he doesn't get in hot water with whoever he said he's in hot water with. Yeah, it's been a fun project from my side. Hopefully you'll see how it comes to fruition with an actual circuit in it. Hopefully you'll get to see it running, but you'll have to go and watch it on his channel because my part is done. Thank you to Anderson himself for giving me inspiration, someone to bounce back some ideas. Thank you to Alexi from 3D Print Direct, who's given me some advice on printing things like this. And I will see you maybe on Anderson's channel, but in my next project. Goodbye.